Welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of glazing by the people of glazing. I'm George Lewis, editor at the People in Glazing Society, or more commonly known as PIGs, and I'm your host. The stars have aligned, and I guess we've managed to get on today is none other than Andy Ball. Welcome to the show, Andy.
How you doing, George?
All good, thank you. Hope you are too. So yeah, we'll crack straight on with it. The question we always ask is for you to explain who you are and what you do within our industry.
Right, so I'm Andy Ball. I'm founder of Balls 2 Marketing, which is probably one of the best things I'm known for in the industry, and also founder partner of the Joinery Network, where we're exhibiting at the Fit Show this weekend. Oh, so next week, sorry.
Yeah, so coming along really quickly. So we'll go right back to the start of saying, how did you get into our industry? What was your sort of origin story into our wonderful industry?
Well, I've always been in construction in one way or another. And I actually got into the glazing industry in a bit of a weird way. I got in through roofing. Company that I was involved with at the time asked me if I'd take up the challenge of trying to get PVC flat roofing into the domestic market.
Okay.
So rather than go to roofing companies who really wouldn't get the value in this, I went straight to some really enterprising window and door installers.
Yeah.
And we grew very quickly. It was a company called Sarnaful Roof Assured. It's since been acquired by the Seeker Group, still going strong. And we set it up within a couple of years. We'd got 50 installation companies around the UK and doing loads and loads of business.
Nice. And what was your first impressions of the glazing sector? Obviously, you said you knew that they would be sort of more inclined to take on the product that you were trying to sell into this industry. But what was your first impressions of it?
Because I'd had some dealings once removed from window and door companies, you just realise how entrepreneurial the industry is. Roofing and concrete and other areas that I've been in, into large contracting projects. It's a bit more staid, big stuff. But when you go and talk to, and I still find this is true today, when you go and talk to an installation company, in most cases they're looking for what they can get out of it. How can they make this work? Is it valuable to them? Really entrepreneurial, and that's what appealed to me.
Okay. And would you say that first initial interaction with the sector reaffirmed your sort of love for the sector and hence why you've stayed in it for so long?
Yeah, very much. I had the great opportunity to go and work for Profile 22 as head of marketing, working very closely with our customers, so the installers of our fabricators. That was a really good experience. And again, that entrepreneurial spirit came through. And it was nice to work in a manufacturing group that also had that same kind of passion.
Okay. And you said, we'll move on to the Joinery Network in a bit, but I know from working with you that you have a love for sustainable products and, sort of obviously with the timber side of things. But what was that first interest in bringing sustainable products to the industry?
I think it was really when, and I'm going back some time now, but when window energy ratings were first introduced into the sector, everybody was a little bit, oh, how the hell are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
Most windows at that point were a D. In some cases, still some E's around there. I came across a really good product called Super Spacer
Okay.
at the time, being bought in by Andy Jones from the US.
Yeah.
Got working with him, and we managed to achieve some of the first A-rated products. Working with him and Richard Bate from Bilcheck at that time, who's now with BFRC, we're able to sort of help the systems companies get to that magic C and then moving it up to an A-rated fairly quickly. And that really sort of sparked my interest in how you could make a big difference in performance very, very quickly without too many changes.
Yeah. And would you say that's one of the biggest changes you've seen in the industry? Is there anything else that you've seen over the years that you've sort of worked in it that have changed massively since the start?
I think the one thing that is really standing out now is vacuum glazing. I'm working a little bit with passive glass at the moment in some very exciting products that they're introducing, and they're launching some on our stand at the Fit Show. But it makes such a big difference. Just this, 8 or 10 mil maximum thickness product can easily achieve the highest equivalence um, of triple glazing, um, but with so much less effort. So I can see that being a fast growing sector. Prices are starting to come down to more realistic levels now, and it's very adaptable. It was sort of really held back for a product just to use in timber. It's not the case anymore. I'm already seeing it installed in curtain walling jobs for aluminium, working with some schools and universities, and also it's a great refurbishment product as well. So I would say watch that one. It's going to develop quickly.
Okay, yeah, and obviously we'll move on to them. Obviously, they're part of the Joinery Network
Yeah.
stand at the Fit Show. So yeah, definitely, I think come along and see it in the flesh, like we saw at the Material Finishes show, which obviously has now been rebranded, but that was a very sort of popular thing on your stand last year.
Yeah, hopefully the new name of it, I think people might understand what it is. That show.
Yeah. And moving on to just to speak about yourself and your career, what have been the career highlights so far? Obviously, you've got many more career highlights to probably come, but what have been the
Not too many. I'm trying to retire now. I think one of the most enjoyable experiences it was fantastic working with systems companies, say like Epwin Group and Synseal back in the day. And when Sarah and myself set up Balls to Marketing, that's a really exciting time. We were then at the very beginning of aluminium, so we were very much involved in launching bifold doors and then later slimline aluminium windows into the industry, working with some superb fabricators and manufacturers within that. Seeing companies like Jack Aluminium go from very early roots in commercial doors right through to fantastic suites of products, and leading the way in products such as internal glazing and screens. So it's I've had been very privileged to work with fantastic companies who know what they want to do. Got the products or the development in place, and been able to work with them and helping them get the marketing right, the messaging right, and getting it out to market. We've seen a lot of very good success in that over the years.
nice. And moving on, you say you work with some fantastic companies, and you also be working with some fantastic companies with the Joinery Network. So, for those that don't know who the Joinery Network are, can you give a brief explanation of who they are?
Yeah, I suppose very simply, we're a cooperative of companies that are all involved in joinery or the glazing industry, that have come together with the real goal of trying to make timber a viable, well, making sure that timber is a viable product for a whole range of manufacturers that maybe smaller in many cases and can't really afford to comply with all the legislation. Haven't got the ability to cascade it as most aluminium or PVC fabricators would do, where they'll cascade the test information from their suppliers initially to get a foot on the ladder.
Yeah.
So I came across the issues in timber very early on when I was helping some companies get through CE marking back in sort of the 2024, 25, 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
And realised when talking to the timber companies that they were not complying with anything, no Pass 24, any of those requirements, and had no idea how to do that. So I got together with Luke Piper from BJ Waller, who are an architectural ironmongery company and very successful in the joinery sector. And we approached a tooling company called Lights Tooling, very high precision product.
Yeah.
Um, and Owen Dare, who is a joinery consultant, we came up and designed a system that covers everything from bifold doors through to sliding sash windows. That's all certified, all past 24, secured by design, who were very kindly approached us and asked us to do a scheme with them. Um, so it means that whether you're a small joinery company on a limited budget, you can still manufacture fully certified, document queue ready products without that fear of saying it's bespoke when everybody knows it's really just a square of timber.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bespoke window. We all make very much similar things. Took a while for the message to get through, but we now have over 50 companies on board. We're in the process of onboarding about another 10,
Nice.
and all of them making the same product. They work with each other. They'll help each other out if they've got a big job and can't quite manage it all,
Yeah.
because it's exactly the same specification, the same paint qualities, everything guarantees, all the hardware, everything is the same.
Okay. And do you think timber is sort of the tide is turning with timber as a material? It was sort of seen as a really sort of maybe out of reach for a lot of homes and commercial stuff. But do you think the tide is now turning that it's being seen as a material that we can use more readily?
Yeah, I think the latest window and door report from MRA Data and Winbase that's coming out soon has some really interesting stats on that. And although, yeah, it's not a massive percentage of the industry, but it's the most profitable. It's it enters into a sector of the market that either has to fit timber because of heritage reasons, which we all know that area, and we think of timber pretty much sandwiched in that. But it's much broader than that. There's a lot of products used for new build. There's more and more actual developers now looking toward timber because it hits some of the credentials that they need to get into local authority areas and planning requirements. Um, but also, homeowners are aspiring to timber much more. Gone are the days of when I first bought a house and the windows were kind of painted in some pink color that you then had to get a proper paint finish on the top of it. There were cheap windows, badly made. Let's face it, the windows made in the 80s and 90s were pretty poor. We ripped them all out for PVC, and now I think people want to start switching back to timber now that it has long life expectancies, they're low maintenance, the coating systems from people like Technos and Remas are so advanced. Minimum amount of maintenance, the same kind of maintenance you'd expect to do on PVC or aluminium, to be honest. And you've got minimum 10-year warranties. We'll be looking at launching some longer warranties than that soon, which is more than you get with some foil finishers in the marketplace right now, of things trying to look like wood. So, yeah, I would say the tide is definitely changing. It's becoming a desirable product. And from an installation point of view or a manufacturer, it's a low cost entry to get into timber. There's no big setup costs in it. We actually offer a training for installers to help them to make sure it's installed correctly and handled correctly. It comes glazed up, so from a fitting point of view, it's a doddle. And it's a very profitable business to be in.
Yeah, and have there been any challenges of obviously setting up the network in the first instance and being in that sort of sector where like you said, there are potential challenges with adding timber to your arsenal? What challenges have there been for you guys?
I'd say the biggest challenge has been the acceptance of joiners that they have to comply. A lot of joinery manufacturers quite rightly say, "Well, nobody ever checks it. Who cares? If we don't have past 24, who's ever going to know?" And the fact is, at the moment, we're still in that position where we're waiting for the safety regulator to really get some teeth. Starting to happen now. That I'm seeing it, and I've seen a few examples of where they've kind of stormed into a manufacturing company asking to see all the information, who they're supplying to, all the rest of it. But that'll come over the next couple of years. But we're now starting to see a lot of our customers and companies coming toward us saying, "Look, we're being asked for this documentation now. We know we need it. Can't afford to test. We spent well over £150,000 testing our system. Every year is thousands and thousands of pounds if you have to keep up to the latest pass and weather testing. So it's not a low cost of entry for a system company, which we are, um, but it means that our customers can license the products from us and at a very reasonable amount and be able to manufacture legally, safely, and an absolutely brilliant product, which is our Lignum range.
Okay. And look into the future. What's the future look like for the Joinery Network in your opinion? What have you got planned over the I guess few week with the fit show, and then later on,
We've got a good message really this week or next week, should I say, is that when I talk to installation companies, they'll often tell me they like the idea of timber, but they've had bad experiences. You have a situation where decide to take it on, get a couple of samples from somebody, get interest, and maybe win a couple of jobs, and then suddenly that joinery company gets busy with something else, might be a whole house refit or whatever it might be, and they suddenly can't make those trade windows anymore. It's been my vision from the very beginning to create a sustainable network that gives installers choice, which is important, gives them the certainty of knowing they can get a good quality trade window whenever they need it. And we're at that stage now. We have a large network. We have the EWH manufacturing group, which tackles both large commercial as well as domestic trade. So we can offer those products consistently through a good range of manufacturers, all to the same standard wherever you are in the UK. So we're getting that message out hopefully this week that we have a trade system fully certified that is competitive in the marketplace and has the high standards. We designed Lignum working closely with people like Lights Tooling and working with Technos and Remus paint systems to come up with something that doesn't need a lot of sanding, which means that it comes out of the factory much better prepared because it's not being sanded very much. The timber retains its integrity. The coating takes to the surface properly, so you don't get any issues that you see on some of the poorer products. It's also designed as a UK system to suit our housing stock. But it's done in such a way that there's no water traps in that you sometimes see with timber, so you don't get any of those issues, that blemishing that can come. And once we give training to installers as well on how to fit it, then you've got something that's going to last for years and years.
no. And just before we move on to talk about the fit show, I know full well from being on Modern Joinery that you've had your TJN live events already one this year that was really successful. But obviously, if people can't get to the show next week, you've also got another event coming up, haven't you?
We have. We hold regular events for joinery companies and installation companies as well. The Technos event, which was really about how to finish and save money. And everything we do is focused on, if it's for manufacturers, how they can save money, for installers, how can they make more profit from what they're doing. We had an absolute full house at Technos and quite a few people in the waiting room to do the next one. So, having 70 manufacturing people in the room showing them how to save cost on the painting was great. We had a fantastic feedback from that. We've got a lights one on how to manufacture coming up soon. We're even showing how to make a window at the fit show in the installer zone. So every day we'll be showing people how to make a window, just so they can see, what goes into it and what the benefits of the products are. Having something pre-glazed and everything else.
Nice. And speaking of the fit show, obviously you said you're in the installer zone, but what else can we expect from the Joinery Network stand?
Well, right opposite the installer zone, we're on stand X78. So we've got the timber zone. So on our stand, you're going to see the whole range of products there for the joinery network. So bifold doors. We've got sliding sash windows, flush sash, casement windows, and also our new Gutman aluminium, wood aluminium products as well, which is lovely, lovely bit of kit. It comes in a whole range of metal finishes, metallic styles, anodized, etc. And that's launched across everything, bifold doors, right through the whole system. We're showing off the Centaur shade and shade and blind screens, anti-insect. They're fitted to a set of bifold, so people can come and try them out. And then a number of our partners are there. Technos is there. They've got a really good solution actually for PVC and for GRP doors. It's got a special reflective finish into it that actually prolongs the life of darker colours. So where you see some of the dark colours go off quite quickly, that I've certainly seen on a number of doors, this is a solution to that. So they'll be talking about that and other products on the stand. So as well as Centaur and Technos, we've got passive glass there, as we've talked about earlier, so you can actually test out vacuum glazing. They've got a couple of products there on the stand that actually show how effective it is and compares it to other forms of glazing on the stand. And we've, as I say, we've got our manufacturing group there as well. Who else is on the stand? Lights, tooling, as we've talked about. They've got some good offers actually, and some good solutions for any fabricator wanted to get involved in timber. Felder Group Machinery are there. As I said, it's a low cost of entry for very high profitable products. So well worth talking to those guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you've just explained of who's going to be on your stand. So you've got together with the show organisers of the Fit Show to have Timber Tuesday, which is
Yeah,
exciting for this sector. For the joinery sector and the timber sector. Can you explain sort of how that idea come about and what it's going to be about?
yeah. So what we want to do is just have that focus for a day on all the opportunities of timber. It's such an exciting product. I mean, we've got coming down the line. We work with people like Abodo Wood, who are developing the thermal technology, which actually transforms the performance of timber for longevity and improves the overall stability of the product. We're working with those guys at the moment, actually, on the certification side of things. But products like that and wood fiber products that are coming through into the marketplace, there's some huge changes you're going to see over the next couple of years, and we're very much at the forefront of that. What we'll be talking about on the Timber Tuesday is what's happening in timber, what the advances are, the developments for installers, fabricators, and suppliers. What we want to do is make it very inclusive. There's some brilliant timber companies there. We've got companies like Barico there with their system. There's a number of hardware companies, people like Ingenious locking systems, who've got some really good products for the timber sector. Loads of others. So we've kind of tied the working with the Fit Show organisers. We've tied up Timber Tuesday to the Timber Trail, so people can actually get a map really of all the companies that have got an involvement with timber. Who were there at the show, and it's a lot longer than I thought it would be. There's a good sort of 40 or 50 companies there that have got solutions for timber or involved in the timber sector.
Nice. And do you think that's important to have timber at somewhere like the Fit Show? It's for the glazing sector. It's the biggest show in our industry. Probably, obviously people would think of it as PVC and aluminium being, the front and center of it. But it's important to also show, the capabilities of timber at a show like Fit Show.
We're selling windows and doors. That's the
Yeah,
thing with it, George. I mean, these are the first windows and doors with timber.
yeah,
and it's never gone away. And you know as well as I do that you can have a window that's 100 years old and still going strong in
Yeah.
timber in any of our Georgian type properties, Edwardian properties, Georgian properties. It's been a long time coming, and I know that the organisers, Montgomery Group, from early days have talked to me about we really want to bring timber to the fore. So it sits there in its place alongside PVC and aluminium.
Yeah.
All three products, materials, are absolutely crucial to our sector.
Yeah.
And we just want to make sure timber is represented as in the right view at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it will be. I think it's going to be a good, hopefully a good show for promoting timber.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's a panel on the last day, actually the Thursday, which has Russell Yates from our UK, myself, and Phil Parry, the technical director at Epwin Group, just talking about the merits of the different products. I know both those guys well, and they're kind of at the top of the products that they're involved in. And Robin Clevitt is going to be just sort of chairing that, just talking out and eking out the merits of the different products and where everything sits really, in that process.
Yeah, nice. So alongside that, are you anything else you're personally looking forward to at the show?
Yeah, gonna have some very interesting news to release that I can't say too much about, but it may just involve the GGF.
Yeah,
I bet there'll be more to talk about that when we're there.
nice, perfect. And to lastly, to sum up the main part of the podcast, if you was to describe our industry in 3 words over the years that you spent in it, how would you describe it?
Um, Hugely exciting and productive. It's 4 words, I know, but hey.
Perfect. Well, we're going to move on to our quick fire question round. As you've seen in previous episodes, we like to let our guests not have to think about the questions or not think about the answers, and just first thing that comes into their head. So I'll start off with,
Okay.
what's your favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Nice, me too. What do you prefer, talking over email or by phone?
Phone.
Nice. Favorite car?
Uh, Crikey. Got to be F50 Ferrari, I think.
Nice. What's your go-to meal, with either by yourself or if you're going out and eating? What would be your go-to meal?
A good old steak. I think that's always a favourite.
Perfect. Yeah. And where's your favorite place to visit?
St Lucia.
Nice. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years' time?
Hopefully not working quite as much as I am at the moment. I'm supposed to be getting semi-retirement now, yeah, just still enjoying. I love working with companies. I work on a consultancy basis with a number of really entrepreneurial businesses at the moment. Can't see me wanting to stop that in the short term. So
Yeah.
hopefully in 5 years' time, still involved in the industry to some extent.
Yeah, nice. And are you excited about the future for both, obviously, personally for Joinery Network and for the industry in general?
Yeah, it's tough at the moment, and we all know that. But that's not unique.
Yeah.
And in some ways, our country over here is doing better than many others. But we are in that area of products where it's a real necessity, and even more so now. We're heading up to some massive changes in building regulations coming through the next year or two. That's going to make that's the windows and doors are at the heart of that.
Yeah.
We've got this demand to get to C-rated properties by 2027 for commercial, 2030 as the target for the domestic market in social housing and private landlords. So there's a lot happening right now, a lot of opportunities that we can grab hold of, and and it's good to see that the majority of companies are weathering the storm. We've had a lot of challenges this last year and this year. big increases on the bottom of costs, which
Yeah.
is reducing profit in NI and the taxations, etc. So we're everybody's trying to weather that at the moment, but I think there's a good future ahead.
Nice, perfect. Well, thanks for your answers, Andy. As you've seen with our previous episodes, our last bit of the main podcast is to let our guest give a shout out to anyone. It can be friends, family, people in the industry, people out of the industry. So yeah, who are your shout out or shout outs for?
Well, I'll shout out to Sarah, who's going to be busy on pigs for the next few days, so I probably won't see an awful lot of her over the next week. And obviously with the launching of modern joinery as well, so that's going to be exciting stuff. Shout out to all my colleagues at the Joinery Network, because they've been working incredibly hard. Thanks a lot to Aaron, who's pulled an absolute blinder on our stand, and without him sounding too sycophantic, big thanks to Nikki this year at the Fit Show. She's been a massive help to us, and we're pleased to be there next week.
Nice. Well, yeah, thanks, Andy, for joining us on Two Peaks in the Pod. It's great to finally get you on and talk about your career in the industry. And both in with the Joinery Network and what's left to come in the future.
Great, thanks for inviting me.
No problem. So, as Andy said earlier in the podcast, you can see him and the Joinery Network affiliates at the Joinery Network stand on stand X78. Pigs will also be there, so do come over and see us if you're at the show. We're located on stand G14. And don't forget our Pigs Fit Show after party on the Wednesday from 5 p.m. So that's it for today. You can find this episode and all others on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society, on our website www.peopleinglazing.co.uk, and also available to download on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And while you're there, make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss another episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you again soon.